For Media Watch Now, and Emma James is here with us in the studio. Emma, everyone, of course, looking at events at Westminster today. Right now, MPs are holding an emergency debate as they seek to stop a no-deal Brexit from happening.
Yes, absolutely. Boris Johnson tried to wrestle control away from Parliament by suspending it, but they're now trying to take the reins back well and truly by voting against what the government wants to push through, which is the idea that a no deal stays on the table. Looking at some of the reactions to this comes from L'Opinion, a French magazine done by the cartoonist Cac. They've portrayed Boris Johnson as one of the Sex Pistols there with his Anarchy in the UK t-shirt, which kind of sums it up, really. But what I love in this image is the detail that you can very easily miss. You've got the badges saying, "I'm a mess, the harder the better," referring to Brexit, of course. And then you've got the skull and crossbones, which has EU written on it, which is a nice little touch there. But if we're talking about punk attitudes, then I think Phillip Lee, the Conservative MP, or was Conservative, probably takes the title today.
He stole the show today, didn't he?
Absolutely, because in the middle of Boris Johnson's address to Parliament, he chose to cross the floor, as they call it, and basically join the Liberal Democrats. This writer saying, if that is a defection, it's been done in full WWE style, meaning those sort of fabricated theatrical wrestling shows. It was a defection. This is it. It isn't all that dramatic. It's about as dramatic as it gets in British politics. People politely going and sitting in a slightly different seat to the one they're normally in.
Yeah.
But of course, it is very, very important in terms of the effect that this has. It was designed to have maximum impact and maximum embarrassment, really, for the Prime Minister, because he was speaking. He did appear to be slightly thrown by it briefly.
He didn't make a speech or anything, did he, Phillip Lee? He literally just got up.
Absolutely.
And sat next to Jo Swinson, the Lib Dem leader.
Yes, and when you look at the reactions to this, it kind of sums up Brexit very, very neatly indeed, because you either have people saying things like this, the moment an anti-democrat spat in the faces of the British people, or at the other end of the spectrum, you've got delicious, one of those moments where you will always remember what you were doing when this happened. And it's interesting, it's almost like nobody cares why he did it, as long as he's now come onto their side of the fence, as it were.
Shows you just how divided the country is, right?
Absolutely. Now, Phillip Lee has given some information as to why he chose to do it. He hasn't specified why he chose to do it so dramatically at this moment and why he waited so long, you could argue. The Liberal Democrats say welcome aboard. On their website, he goes into greater detail saying, this Conservative government is aggressively pursuing a damaging Brexit in unprincipled ways. And he actually says they are putting lives and livelihoods at risk unnecessarily. So some very, very strong words.
And he's not a backbench nobody. He was a minister just a few weeks ago.
Absolutely. Well, he actually resigned from that position in protest at the way Brexit was being handled. So it's not a great surprise that he was going against the government. Was he expected to fully jump ship and actually change his party? He's been a Conservative for 27 years. Of course, Jeremy Corbyn, even though he is, of course, the leader of the Labour Party, even though Phillip Lee didn't choose to join his party, I think he's probably celebrating this quote from his speech today. Boris Johnson's government has no mandate, no morals, and as of today, no majority.
Yeah, he enjoyed delivering that line, didn't he?
Absolutely.
There are plenty of others taking a stance, not all of them quite as dramatic as Phillip Lee, though, are they?
No, absolutely. At the present, we know of at least 15 Conservative MPs who are planning to vote against the government. Between them, they've got more than 250 years' experience as MPs, so it's pretty weighty stuff. This is a cartoon from Andy Davey, which has various ones from the Tory party who've decided to go against Boris Johnson. He is portrayed as leaving with his ball. Brexit balls, it says on that.
Which has been punctured.
Yes, heading in the direction of the polling station because, of course, we all expect a general election to follow if he loses this vote. But notice also it points to the changing rooms, which perhaps hints that could there be more changes ahead in terms of what Boris Johnson says he wants to happen, because he's had a few changes of direction over the years, I think it's fair to say. So as for the rebels, well, this one is probably one of the strongest figures in the Tory party, Nicholas Soames. He has confirmed he will not be voting with the government.
Grandson of Winston Churchill, for those who don't know.
Grandson of Winston Churchill. And what is so important about this, and lots of people pointing the out the irony is that Boris Johnson is a huge fan of Winston Churchill, wrote a biography about him. This person from Monarchy UK is pointing out that it would be, very sarcastically, a great look for Boris Johnson to expel the grandson of Winston Churchill from the Conservative Party on what is the 80th anniversary of the outbreak of World War II.
Oh, the symbolism.
Indeed. Nicholas Soames himself, he's the MP for Mid Sussex, is very well known for his very, very lengthy hashtags. And all he has had to say about Boris Johnson's plans to potentially deselect those who go against the government is, oh, shut up and try to do your job properly. You do have to wonder whether the entire country is just losing all faith in politics and politicians, especially...
Oh, he's back, isn't he?
Yeah, he is back. Especially when you see that this went out on Channel 5, one of the major national broadcasters, last night. Why are our politicians so crap? I hope I'm allowed to say that on air. Jeremy Paxman, probably the biggest journalistic political grandee you can think of.
He's never had a lot of respect for politicians, though.
No, but I don't think I've ever heard him come out with
pretty,
things like this.
Yeah.
There's a clip that's been very, very popular on social media today in which he says, how did a man you wouldn't even trust alone with your own sister come to be trusted with the entire country?
Ouch!
So, yes, it is an interesting one, that one. Lots of people looking at the morals and scruples of people who are going for power over principle, including this cartoonist, Seamus Jennings, and he, as at the bottom there, you can't quite see, he says, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your spines. And one person who's come in for probably more criticism than most is Michael Gove. He is now seen as very much the lapdog of Boris Johnson, and there he is in the little red
it's Matt
case.
Hancock yesterday. Today it's Michael Gove.
Ah, well, there we go. Yes, of course, Boris Johnson's new rescue dog arrived in that little red case yesterday.
Dylan, I think.
Michael Gove has been pushed in there unceremoniously by the British comedy show Have I Got News for You, who clearly think that Boris Johnson has Michael Gove well and truly under his control.
Oh, do you remember when people used to complain that British politics was boring?
Oh, yes,
Those
indeed.
days are gone, aren't they? All right. Emma, thank you very much indeed. Emma James with Media Watch.